See, guys, I want to express something. I want to express the ability to stay sober. And now you have to realize that when you stay sober, you're just going to have more energy. I promise you, you're just going to have a feeling in you that's going to feel good. I promise you, you're going to feel good all the time. And you're going to be a cleaner person. You're going to have better habits. And you're going to be able to persuade other people in a better direction always. But not just that. I promise you, when you become sober, in terms of you quit smoking cigarettes, you quit the caffeine, you quit the drugs, you quit the legal drugs, you stop smoking weed, you stop methamphetamine, you stop speed and also ecstasy and heroin and all that kind of stuff, and mushrooms and DMT and stuff. I promise you, when you can stop all kinds of drugs, you're going to be able to be in a better place. And now you have to realize that you're going to be in a better place spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, and communicationally. You're going to be able to vibrate on a better level. And you're going to be able to really speak out exactly what you want out of life. I realize that when I communicate, the only thing that really matters is that I help somehow. So that's what I'm always doing in my life. I always seek to express myself as much as possible so that I can help someone with information, so that I can change someone's life. I realized I just recently posted on my Instagram 27 posts. And you have to realize something, that Instagram can take down your Instagram, okay? So you have to realize that Instagram's not operated by people, okay? What people have done to Instagram, for example, is they made a robot system that says if you start to post a certain amount of content on Instagram, that what's going to happen is that robot is going to detect you. In terms of that robot's going to be able to detect what you've done on Instagram, and it's going to block your account and it's going to delete your account, okay? So what you need to realize is that if you want maximum effect, inside of Instagram, make sure that you post up to 3 posts a day. I promise you, up to 3 posts a day is considered that you're not spamming. So you have to realize that the system on Instagram is against you, but it's also protecting you from you. You understand? And what do I mean by that? I mean that people want to get famous really quickly, okay? And because people want to get famous really quickly, what they start doing is they start posting more content online, okay? And because they post more content online at a fast rate, they start spamming people. They start throwing links at people, for example. So what you need to realize is that if you start spamming on Instagram, then Instagram is just going to block you. And it's not the people that are blocking you. The system is like that. The system is designed for you not to spam. Okay, so make sure that you understand something, that if you have something really valuable on Instagram, okay, and check out my account, for example, check out my Instagram. I promise you, if my Instagram got deleted, okay, then that's all my work, for example, and most of my work that I've done in terms of images in my life, that I would have to start all over again. So all that time wasted, for example, is stupid for me. Do you understand? So the thing is that luckily Instagram has not blocked me yet, okay? Because what I'm doing now is I'm going to wait 1 week. I'm going to wait for 1 week to post again on Instagram. But from now on, I'm just going to post 3 posts a day, okay? 3 posts a day is enough for me to be able to recognize that I can keep going with my Instagram. But what I want to explain also is from now on, for myself personally, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to take as many photos of myself as possible, okay? And then in a better time, I'm going to upload all my content. But the thing is that people are always following you and what you do. If you have that amount of decency in you right now to be able to really outlive yourself in a way that you're posting content of something. So when you post something online, what happens is you get the opportunity to inspire someone. And because you get to inspire somebody with your content, you have to realize that someone's always watching you, okay? Someone is always following you somehow. That you already have fame to some degree, and you also have a communicational ability in you right now that you need to express. Okay, so when you express yourself as someone in life, make sure that you understand that famous people, in terms of being famous, is not the answer, okay? Because, for example, you can see these famous people, they cannot even walk the street normally. I promise you, they cannot even walk on the street without the paparazzi being at the back of their ass, okay? I wouldn't want to be famous. But I definitely don't want my Instagram to get blocked, because I put so much effort into my Instagram. You understand? I put so much effort into it that I don't want to start all over again. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to wait for 1 week, okay, without posting anything on Instagram, and without liking anyone's content, okay, and without following anybody on Instagram, just in case that I can manipulate the algorithm to let me start posting my content again. So what happened recently on my Instagram, after my 27th post, Instagram actually sent me a message and said, Danny, we want you to verify your account. So what happened was I had the wrong phone number there, which is updated now, but I sent my verification through my email. Luckily, I still have the same email. And I want you to understand something. Always keep the same email. Never start changing emails, okay? And the reason for that is that if you sign up to MyGov, which is a Centrelink application, or if you sign up to any kind of application out there, or Google, for example, or YouTube, you need one consistent email. Do you understand? Because when you have one email and you give everyone that email, people are going to be able to message you on that email. So, for example, make sure they understand something else. Keep one consistent phone number. Do you understand? Have one consistent phone number instead of multiple phone numbers. Because people don't want to always go into their phone to change your phone number. People are lazy. You understand? People get arrogant. People start getting negative about you if you start changing your phone number a lot. Okay? And it's not about them, it's about you. So what I'm saying is, if you want people to message you, and if you want people to connect with you, make sure that you have one Instagram that people can contact you on. Make sure you have one Facebook. Make sure you have one number in terms of one phone number in daily life. Make sure you have one email account, for example. Make sure you keep consistent with that, and use free Wi-Fi as much as possible. Go to the library, where there's full of books out there in the library. Read all day. Do you understand? But you can get free Wi-Fi at the library, for example. So the best option for you right now is to always understand that you must be creating content. You must be creating something. So what I'm doing now with my life, personally, in terms of my branding images, is I'm going to go out there and I'm going to take as many photos as possible for myself. And I'm gonna take my shirt off like I have been doing. I'm gonna show my flabs. I'm gonna show how obese I am. I'm gonna show people how overweight I am. And then eventually I'm gonna post 3 posts a day on Instagram. And now you have to realize that daily, I promise you, daily, people are not watching my content daily, okay? But in 2 months' time, I'm gonna have at least 2 times 60. So that's 120 posts, even more than before, okay? So what people do after 120 days, or after, for example, 120 posts, okay, they come into Instagram and they see a bunch of new photos. They see a bunch of new content that you posted, and they get updated really quickly about your life. I mean, isn't that the point? Isn't it the point to keep regarding yourself as number one in life? To keep really posting something for nothing? To make sure that you can inspire someone in some kind of way? I mean, isn't that really a choice? I mean, isn't that your choice in life? You have to realize that your choice has to be content. You have to produce something and you have to post it. You have to use all social medias. You have to get on TikTok. You have to get on Snapchat. You have to get on LinkedIn. You have to get on Facebook, okay? And the reason for this is, it's not because of fame. I promise you, the reason for this is, I understand, for your personal development. So there's many ways you can develop without social media. I promise you, you don't need to be on social media to help people, okay? You just need to personally develop yourself. So what I do as a strategy for myself is I use and utilize social media so that I can help people. So when you come on my Instagram, for example, you'll see a bunch of my previous photos. You'll see my updated photos of myself, and you'll see my previous photos of myself. You'll see my past photos of myself, how I used to look like and how I look now. You have to understand something, that your body is aging throughout time. And the best thing you can do with your life right now is to make sure that you're public speaking and that you're expressing your content as much as possible. Because do you know how sharp the words are? Do you know how sharp you can be? You have to realize that you're someone in life that needs to be having a sharp mind. So the best way to sharpen your skills, and when I say skills, I mean in terms of diversity, in terms of adversity, in terms of confidence and courage, and being able to persuade other people through words, okay? You have to understand your words are always perfect. Your words can help people, so you use them. Use your words to your advantage. I promise you, when you can use words to your advantage, you can go any kind of direction that you want to go in. You can help the stars. You can be the Prince of Wales. You can be whatever you want to be. But the whole point of it is that you have to be someone in your life. You have to be a somebody and a nobody at the same time. I promise you, you have to realize it's not about fame. I promise you, it's about helping people. I promise you, the only reason Jesus Christ got famous is because he was helping people, okay? But you have to realize that if you consistently do something throughout time and you're really, really good at it, okay, I promise you what's going to happen is you're going to become even better. And then you build upon that, okay? So I recently asked this woman at Toastmasters recently, and I said, what steps do I have to take so that I can have your kind of job in life? So what does she do? She does management, okay? she manages a council, okay? She also communicates with business owners, and she goes to business events, and she improves her public speaking skills. And now you have to realize something about that. That I can tell she's already professionally developed in some kind of way and has confidence to do that. And why does she have confidence to do that? Because she gained the experience. So how did she gain that experience? She went out there. She made sure that she is a learner, that she is a student, that she's going to try something new. Do you understand? That's why she has got her position, which is a new job for her now. And she's managing a council. And she's also been in recruitment where she has been able to hire people and communicate with people in an office setting. And she also is inspirational in her. She's inspirational in her. She is inspirational in her own way. Okay, and the reason she's inspirational is because she can talk. She does Toastmasters. She goes to business owners. She talks to them. She gets experience from them. She exchanges value with people through words and advice. And she goes to work just like everyone else. And she wakes up every single day in the morning sometime. Or maybe in the afternoon or whatever her time shift is. She's waking up for work. She drives to work. Okay. She may even walk it to work. I'm not sure, but she's the type of woman that has a car, most probably. Okay. Because I've seen her walking in the parking lot. And now you have to realize something. That this type of woman is successful to some degree. Okay. So what is it about her in terms of that nice and beautiful way of life that she has now? Okay. What is it about her beautiful life right now that feeds upon my knowledge? So what that is that I asked her, how do I get your job? She said that you need experience, and that's it. She told me, she's like, Danny, you need a certificate, you get yourself some skills, you get yourself a certificate, okay? You ask around for some information, okay? You be willing to do the job, okay? You make sure you get the structure of the business, okay? Make sure you understand the structure of what you need to do and ask people to train you, okay? So, for example, my next step, okay, since I'm bartending at Bonnering Sports Club now, by what I've heard, okay, you have to realize that what I can do after some time is I can go to Slaven, for example, and I can say, hey Slaven, I like your job, I like your position. I would like that same position, but maybe somewhere else in some type of future or something like that. Can you please teach me some skills, okay, that I can acquire from you in your management position, and I'll be willing to do the work for free just so I can learn how to manage people around your community for free so that I can learn and acquire the skills that I need to make sure that I can manage people and be confident about what I do. For example, through communication. You understand? And if you ask really nicely, you have to realize that you're not trying to take their position, you're trying to have more skills in the process to be able to somehow get the position someday, okay? So you have to realize that, first of all, you need to build your confidence. You have to build the person you are, and you have to start slowly, okay? So recruitment is one way that you can do it. Managing other people by learning the skills by learning the skills necessary to succeed can help you to live a great life. So it's not about the money, okay? But money is something that is as high up as breathing, as Zig Ziglar said, okay? So you have to realize money is important, but it's not the key factor that explains your personality. Okay, so money doesn't solve your problems. Okay, what solves your problems in life is you. What solves your problems in life is information. When you can solve information, okay, I understand when you solve information, you can get somewhere. You have to understand that the Rubik's Cube is like information. And the more information you have, the more you can solve the Rubik's Cube, okay? And the higher your IQ and EQ skills. So you have to realize that if you want to make more money in your business or life, you need communicational skills. And that's the number one factor of why I do this audio program for you. Because I plan my life ahead of the game. I plan what I'm going to say, okay, before I say it. And when I understand that before I even do a speech, I'm already prepared about what I'm going to say. And I don't have to write it down, okay? But what I do previously to the moment that I do a public speaking speech, or before I do an audio program, is I journal. I journal a lot. I write things down as much as I can, okay? And what this helps me do is it organizes me around. It shows me exactly what I need to do on a daily basis and on a consistent basis about exactly what I need to do, which is express myself. So the more I express myself through images and through video and quotes and audio programs and through my Mega Drive, through some extras and stuff like that I do in my Mega Drive, you have to realize I become an overall person because I'm always trying to boost my skills in every single domain possible. And that's what I really understand about life. So when you're increasing your business skills, you have to increase your knowledge. You understand? You have to keep learning. And the thing is that you have to learn alone. Apparently, nobody can learn for you. Apparently, you have to realize that school doesn't stop. And when you keep learning throughout life, life becomes a school. Okay? And you are the student. But life is self-education. Okay? And the more you learn about self-education and business and sales and public speaking and communicating with others on a daily basis, the better you become. Okay? That's why I do what I do. Okay? I understand when I do that, in terms of what I do, for why I do it, which is to help people, I become a better person. I become a better communicator. I become a better business strategist. I pronounce myself better, okay? So you have to realize something, that if someone's not interested to talk about something, or is not much of a fan of something, then make sure that you don't start talking about something that they are not a fan of. Okay? So for example, if someone's talking about poker, okay, and that person says that they don't play much poker and they are not interested in that, then change the subject, okay, to something that's interesting for them. You understand? Because if you keep going on and on about something that they are not interested about, guess what's going to happen? They'll shake your hand and go straight away. They'll try to leave you as soon as possible. Do you understand? Why? Because that's happened in my life. You understand? So that's why I'm always trying to boost my communicational skills so that I can do a better job. You understand? But not that those people have anything against me. It's just that I have to communicate better. You understand? I have to improve myself. So the whole point of helping yourself to succeed in some kind of domain, to help yourself to get good around technology, or through strategies, or through planning your life, or through helping your health to develop, you have to do certain actions with certain criteria, with certain knowledge, with certain mathematics to make sure that you can achieve your goals. You have to understand that life is mathematics, okay? And the better you talk, the better your life. You have to realize every single day, prosper as much as you can, grow as much as you can as a person, never give up, okay? Make sure you keep going, make sure you keep thriving, try to have work, try to work a 9-to-5 job as much as you can, and not because of the money, but because of the experience. Okay, you are there to work for the experience. You're there to serve. You are a server. You are a servant, okay? You have to realize everyone here is serving you. You are also serving everybody. But what you need to realize is something about life. And what about life do you have to realize? That I have a certain edge about life. There are people younger than me. There are people older than me. But they don't have what I do. Okay, I have certain abilities that they don't have. Okay, I promise you, nobody in the world has my persona. I promise you, nobody in the world has the exact mindset as I do. Okay, and that's what sets me apart from other people. And that's what needs to understand. I promise you need to understand that you have certain criteria that nobody else has. You have certain life experiences that nobody else has. And that's why you are unique. And you need to use that experience to help other people. So I said today in my life coaching Toastmasters public speaking speech at Marconi, near me, I said, I am a life coach, but I'm unqualified to be a life coach, but I have the experience to teach other people. I have the experience to show people my experience about life and my opinion and my advice. Take it or leave it. So you have to understand that there's always a certain direction that you can go in to help other people to thrive and to succeed. But you need to always organize yourself around. I promise you that if I was not writing, and if I was not doing video programs, and if I was not doing audio programs and quotes, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I'd be far worse than this person. Do you know why? Because I'd have nothing to do other than my music production, and that's it. So life coaching is a big aspect of my life, and I'm better at life coaching than I am at music production. You understand? I promise you, why is that? Because there's a learning curve, okay? And you have to realize that music is something I do part-time, but I don't make money on my music, okay? At the moment, I'm making my first album. I'm making a jazz album. I'm slowly progressing in that. But slowly and surely, I'll get there. And eventually I'll be on the street selling my album, eventually. But there is time to do that. So there's always time for everything, okay? But you have to realize that that's something you have to realize, that time is running out also. So make sure that you're living your days right now like it's your last day today. Do you understand? So what can you do today to make sure that you can step forward and be a leader and progress in some kind of fashion that other people will pay attention about? You understand? So you have to realize, Grant Cardone says popularity is the money. And he's totally right about that. You have to understand that popularity is the money. But what's even better than popularity is having a great life. You understand? You can have a great life without popularity. Okay? You don't need popularity to make money. You just need experience. Okay? So for example, famous people have certain experiences around people that nobody else sees. But that's why you have to realize that when a famous person gets famous, you don't know who's truly loving you. You don't know why people came to see you. And you will most likely have someone out there who just does not like you for the person you are. And you have to realize that we all have someone in our lives that doesn't value us like we value them. Okay? For example, so you have to realize that there are jealous people around. So for example, if I was to go to a disco club over there and there were 10 DJs on the night and I put my foot through the door and I started DJing, for example, guess what? I'd be the lowest status there, for example. But let's say I build my way up and I build my way up faster than they do. Guess what happens? Certainly and surely, after a few years, I start to get better status than those people at that club. Guess what happens? When I go above a person's status, okay, and my status becomes bigger than theirs, they start to become jealous. Do you understand? So who are your true friends? I promise you, your truest friend in life is you, okay? You have to realize something. That people don't talk about God and politics and sex for a reason. Because there's a lot of backlash about that. So people don't talk about God much because people think that people who think about God in a way that they talk about God too much are sick people and schizophrenics. Okay, so for example, if you go to a psychiatrist and you tell him that you listen to God all the time and that you have God in your life who talks to you and you always talk to God and you respect God and you just keep talking about God to psychiatrists, okay? I promise you, if you keep talking to a psychiatrist about God, I promise you, guess what they're going to do? I promise you, they're just going to put you on medication. And they're going to call you a schizophrenic who's delusional and who has hallucinations. Do you understand? So make sure when you talk to a psychiatrist, remove God from the picture. Don't even talk about God. Don't even mention God. Okay? And second of all, politics. Okay, so politics is very messy. It's a messy subject. Okay? On one hand, we have justice. On the other hand, we have freedom. And on the other hand, we have criminality. Okay? So that's politics. Okay? So politics is made up of freedom, justice, and criminality. So politics, people steal money. they also give justice, and also they give you freedom to some extent. So you have to realize something, that people don't mix with politics much because they're either smart enough or they're not smart enough. You know what I'm saying? So that's why, and those are the reasons that people don't mix in with politics, and for why they do also. But I'll promise you also something, that I mix in with politics, okay? But I don't try to become a politic. You understand? So if I try to become a politic, and I try to become the president of Australia, for example, you have to realize that I have to climb the ladder, okay? And then there's going to be certain people in that community who's going to root against me, okay? So when I say something, they're just going to say the opposite. And they're just going to argue and argue and argue and argue. And they're not going to go through a resolution in terms of solution about a problem. So that's why I stay away from politics. Because with politics, there is no solution. Do you understand? I promise you the solution of politics is stay away from politics. Do you understand? That's the solution. You can mix in with politics all you like, but make sure you never become a politic. Because once you become a politic, no matter what you say, people will not hear you. No matter how good you are, people will kill you. No matter how much status or money or fame or fortune or health you have, there will always be someone in that politics arena who just plain is jealous of you. Do you understand? So realize that's politics. And on the other hand, we have sex. Okay, and why don't people talk about sex? Because when they talk about sex, they are either guilty of it, they either become shamed about it, or they're hiding something about it. You understand? And that's why they don't talk about politics. That's why they don't talk about sex. Because the reasons are, they are hiding something, they are guilty of something, or they're shaming themselves about something. You understand? They're not exposing themselves in their sex life. You understand? So you have to realize the sex life that you have with other people should and must be private, okay? If you go around and you're a famous person and everybody knows you go to brothels and everybody knows that you just fuck women because you treat them like shit, because you just want to fuck and fuck and fuck and fuck. Imagine what that famous person, in terms of life, would get from the public in terms of treatment about their attitude. You understand? So imagine a famous person says, hey, I like going brothels, I fuck women all day long, I don't give a fuck about them because I'm not trying to have a kid with them. Imagine the scrutiny. Imagine the humiliation. Imagine the shame and guilt that comes with that. You understand? So realize this, that you have to realize that sex is a topic that you can talk about, just talk about it online, away from other people. That's the solution. But if you talk about sex in a way that someone's interviewing you and talking about sex, for example, and saying, Hey Danny, what do you think about sex? I would say sex is a good thing. I would say sex needs to be promoted, okay? And the reason it needs to be promoted is because it's life, okay? So for example, if I have a kid with a woman, it's obvious I had sex with her. So you need to promote sex, okay? So that's my reasons for promoting sex. And what else can I say about sex? I mean, sex is nice, it's pleasurable, it's a nice activity to do, but it can become unproductive if you have too much sex. But if you're not having sex, you're ultimately going to be productive, okay? And the thing is that you have to realize that the best kind of sex in life with a woman or man is when you're having a kid for a purpose. And so that's the best time to really promote sex and to have sex. And Jesus Christ says sex after marriage. Okay? So you have to realize that when you have sex after marriage, that's the best type of form of communication that you can have in life. Because there's nothing else worth it much more than that. But make sure you understand, all that Jesus Christ is saying here is delay sex as much as possible. You understand? Do you understand why? Because you must delay gratification. And the more you delay gratification as a person, the better you become in all areas, okay? So that's the reason why people don't talk about sex, politics, and God. You understand? So you would say, but Danny, how about, for example, John C. Maxwell? And how about other people who talk about God in terms of they go to church, they talk about God? I'm not saying that not talking about God is not a bad thing, okay? I promise you, the thing is that talking about God is a good thing. But when you talk about God so much, okay, when you talk about God in a way that you can no longer breathe how much you talk to Him and how much you are promoting Him, okay, you have to realize that certain people are going to think you're delusional, okay, they're going to think you have a problem because you just talk about God and that's all you talk about. Okay, so that's why you have to realize that there's things like moderation, okay, that if you do moderation in certain things, you shall be good, okay? But the thing is that there is also a thing called something like no moderation. And what that means is it's either you do drugs or don't do drugs. You cannot have both in moderation. You cannot have health and drugs at the same time. Do you understand? You cannot have both. You have to choose, and there's no moderation. But if you talk about everything in moderation, that's healthy, okay? To talk about it is healthy. To socialize is a healthy thing. So that's why I talk about everything in my podcast. And that's why I talk about as much as I can about everything as much as I can. I see, but do you know what, for example, bores people sometimes? You have to realize that when you're just talking on and on and on in front of people, you have to realize that you have to make the conversation interesting. And when you make it interesting in a way that they have to listen to you, so you raise your voice a bit, you look them in the eye, you come closer to them, okay? You make sure you put your hand on the table, look at them, move around, move to another area, make sure that you're pausing in your communication. Make sure that you're not saying things like like, you understand? I promise you that way you become a better speaker. But the thing is that you have to realize that learning is a very interesting process. And the more you learn as a person, the more you connect dots, the more you connect information, the more you connect words together, the more you learn, okay? And then I promise you, what do you do with what you learn in life? I promise you, what you do with what you learn is you teach other people what you've learned. And that's how you master learning. And the only way to learn really is to teach it. And what you teach through the words that you say or through the music that you do is what you've learned. And that's it. I promise you, it's better to just talk than it is to read. Because when you're producing content, you're learning much more at a faster rate than the people who are reading that content that you are teaching. Okay? So for example, this content I've told you in this audio program, I've learnt it because I taught you. You understand? I've ingrained it inside of my vocabulary and inside of my information. And because I made it interesting in a way that you can listen and that you can be curious about what I have to say next, is because I have the pauses, I have the words in the dictionary and the smarts to keep going, okay? And that's what I learned over experience. So when you have experience to advocate to do better, then you're always going to go in a better direction. So that's why public speaking is an interesting thing. And that's why learning is when you learn all your life. And when you learn all your life by learning, you can do anything that you set your mind to. So as long as you are willing to learn, you have as many job opportunities out there as possible. You understand? Because you're a learner. But people who are closed to learning and who don't open themselves up to learning don't have as many job opportunities. So for example, the reason I was getting shit jobs in life for myself is because I was lacking experience and I was lacking communicational skills. And because I was lacking communicational skills, I was lacking direction to pursue my goals. And why is that? Because I didn't set my goals. I didn't have goals to set. So how did I set my goals? Well, what I did before I set my goals is I started to write as much as possible. And when I started to write as much as possible, I started to organize my thoughts. And when I organize my thoughts around, I see exactly what I want to achieve. You understand? So what do I want to achieve in my life? I just want to achieve something better than this. You understand? And that's what I've learned over time. That you don't need to travel the world to be someone of great experience. You just need to travel with yourself to learn, okay? And when you learn as much as possible, there's nothing that can break you. Do you understand? And you have to understand why. Because you're building social connections with yourself. And the way you do this is by becoming much more interesting. And when you become much more interesting in life, you practice and practice and practice. And when you have more practice, you just become and get better about what you do, okay? I understand that when you get better about what you do, you just become overall confident in your ability to speak and to learn and to be able to have an interesting life and to be happy and positive in your day. In a sense, so when you're positive in your day, nothing can bring you down except you. So for example, I don't remember the last time I was negative. You understand? And the last time I was negative on myself, okay, in terms of words, was over 5 years ago. You understand? And do you understand why? Because I'm much more spiritual now. And because I'm much more spiritual now, I'm understanding much more ways to talk to myself in daily life. And do I talk to myself in daily life? I talk to myself a lot. And why do I talk to myself a lot? The reason is that I better myself through my talk. So when I talk to myself here with you, for example, I'm bettering myself. I talk to myself in my journal about my day, about what I need to do, about how I need to teach people. And the more I get myself into a teaching state, the more positive I am on myself. Because when you're selfless, okay, when you're selfless, you can achieve anything and you will always better yourself when you're selfless. But when you're selfish, okay, about everything, then that's where the negativity starts. Okay? Through selfishness, you have to understand, comes selflessness. But you have to utilize being selfless. So the way you do that is you talk words or you produce content. And that's why Gary Vaynerchuk is very big on producing content on social media. And the reason he does it is to help people, and not because of fame. But fame is something that comes with helping people. So, anyway, you have to realize that if you want to develop yourself as a person, or you want to do something special for yourself, try communication words. Try to develop your words as much as possible. Because when you develop your words, you always find more work to do in the words that you speak. You understand? And that's why I'm always working. And do you know how I'm always working? Because I'm always working on my communicational skills. I'm always looking for the best books on communicational skills. I'm always looking to read something that's going to improve my communicational skills. You understand? And that's the whole business strategy. I promise you, if you can focus on just communicational skills all day long, I promise you, you can never go bored. You can only go positive, and you can only talk to the best people on the planet. You understand? So every single day, you have to realize that everyone's the best in life. You understand? So what makes the best of the best, apart from the best, is communicational skills. So those people who really are successful because they have the communicational skills. I promise you, they have the habits, okay? And when you have great habits, you have great communicational skills. That's the way it is. So if you guys understand anything about this program, I hope that you've learned something, and I hope to see you very soon, okay? So make sure that before you end the program, make sure that you teach something one last time before you say over and out. Before you say over and out, in a way that you communicate. And when you communicate something on a daily basis, on the last note, when you give something special in a way of communicational skills, you can always go when you feel like it. But when you go when you feel like it, in a way that you're communicating the best things in life, then you understand that communication skills is the best thing in life. So make sure every single day that you recap everything that you said and then put it in a last sentence and just finish off the sentence, and just press pause or stop on your audio program and your video program. And then what you do is you go about your daily life. So if you are learning to never repeat yourself and go the new way, go somewhere else in a new direction where you build new functions and new skills and new contacts, where you build new phone numbers, and make sure that you do the best job that you can. That's what you need to do. So anyway, guys, so welcome back to my program. I see, so if you want to do better, I see it's much more how you need to talk. I see you need to talk words every single day. You need to never procrastinate your life in a way that you need to grow. I promise you, every single day I'm always looking to thrive. I'm always looking to help myself to succeed because I believe in my words. I believe in who I am. I believe in a better world, so I need to always develop that kind of nature for myself every single day. And the more I do that, the better I am. I realize it's much more how with words you can do anything. I promise you can be able to never resist. I see it's much more how when you talk to people, make sure that you always start with the word I. I see try to be as normal as you can. I see try to be a person of gratitude every single day of your life, making sure that you're always thriving in some kind of domain. I see it's much more how you need to always develop yourself anyway. I see it's always just say something. I realize when you say something, it works. Apparently you go a separate way to other people. I see you learn to grow on your own. I see that's the whole occasion every single day that you need to be doing. I realize you need to be growing in some way, shape or form. I see when you grow in some way, shape or form, you're actually developing yourself in the best kind of way. So you have to understand that if you want to get smarter, you have to do synonyms and antonyms, and you have to connect words together, and you have to connect information together. I see. So recently I was reading a book by Robert Kiyosaki, Who Stole My Pension? And he says that all the wars that ever were in life, he says that it was about the oil. I realize the oil industry is something that every nation has in their repertoire, and every single war was because of the oil in the world. So the reason that America started a war with Japan is because the oil was cut off by America, and they cut off the oil supply to Japan, and that's why they started a war. I realized the Vietnamese war was about the oil as well, and that's what Robert Kiyosaki says. I see he says about the World War I and II was about oil as well. I see, so you have to understand that you have to realize that you cannot be relying on other people to give you money. I realize that's the thing about life, that if you want to do better, you have to understand that you have to be on top of life. And you cannot rely on a paycheck every single week to get you to where you want to go. I mean, yes, and so if you want to do better in life, you have to understand that thoughts always help people. So thoughts are always growing in you right now, and you have to document things down, and you have to really, really reset your mindset in a way that you're always growing yourself in a way that you express yourself as much as you can every single day, making sure that you're doing your work. I understand that when you do that, I realize you're going to be a better person. So, for example, I realized that my dad and mum don't believe in my work much. I realize the reason for that is because they think that somehow that my work, in terms of my mother, for example, I realize she thinks that I'm all over the place when I talk, for example, in my audio programs and stuff like that. And I realize I've learned some things when I was with my mother that I must not go and I must not, for example, describe another person's life without their permission. And the thing is that I realized that you can always break rules, yes, and I promise you it's more how you have to always express yourself somehow, and you need to do the best job you can. So for example, I realized I might start Toastmasters really soon. I might start going to my Coney Toastmasters. I realized once I go, I realized just make sure every single day that I can conduct myself in a professional manner, making sure that I can do something along the lines of helping myself grow. I promise you that's what I need to do all the time, but I need to practice my kind of communicational skills in front of people to just make sure that I'm growing. I promise you. So what I do to grow every single day is I make sure that I read as much as possible. I try to understand information. I try to write notes down while I'm talking to people, and I try to do something to write notes while I'm listening to an audio program or something like that, just so I can spread information much more quicker, and just so I can learn things much more quicker for myself. I promise you, when I do that for myself, I realize it's a better nature in you to be able to express yourself, and when you express yourself, it's much more how you just get the drift. I promise you get something in terms of life, and you understand much more about what you want to do. So you have to understand that if you want to grow yourself in the best kind of way, I promise you it's more about how you are on a daily. I promise you it's much more about how you are on a daily basis, and you need to pronounce those words properly. I promise you. So what you do is you read out aloud as much as possible, And when you read out aloud as much as possible, what's going to happen is you're going to grow in terms of stuttering, and you're going to make sure that you're not going to stutter while you talk, and you're not going to stutter while you're actually doing better for yourself. So you have to realize that if you want to be someone much more greater for yourself in terms of life, you have to realize that fame is not the answer. I promise you don't want to be famous in life, because imagine paparazzi always taking photos of you and making you look poor kind of thing, and they're always at your doorstep and they're always taking photos of you, and they never give you privacy. Do you understand? So you have to realize that it's not about fame. I promise you it's not about fame, because look at what happened to Jesus Christ. I promise you look at what happened to look at what happened to Martin Luther King Jr. and Mahatma Gandhi, for example. See, look what happened to Michael Jackson, for example. And you have to realize that things in life happen. Yes, and you have to realize that you need to really, really preoccupy yourself with thoughts. And when you when you preoccupy yourself with thoughts, you're going to have much more to talk about. Okay, so you have to realize that you have to be in a space of mind every single day to coach people. I promise you, the more you coach people, the more you coach yourself. Do you understand? So you have to realize that if you want to organize yourself around, then you have to be doing something consistently on YouTube or Instagram, and you have to be consistent with the amount of posts you post online. But the thing is that the self-image of who you are is the most important. So you have to understand that your image is much more important than any other image in the world. And you have to really, really be consistent with that. And you have to see that for yourself. That, for example, with my image, I understand that everything explains my image. You understand, I am something that you can see, and I'm something that you cannot see at the same time. So you have to understand that you cannot be defined by this life. I promise you, many people are not aware to the point they need to be, but this world is growing slowly. Okay, and you have to realize that the world is actually growing at a rapid rate. And you have to realize that today we have phones and we have technology, and the best use that we can have with technology today is to help it in terms of to help technology to help us. In a sense, so the reason I document everything down is because it helps me to express myself. I become much more confident in who I am. I speak from a nice and beautiful way of life, and I speak from the heart. You understand? I speak from the word I. I realize when I go in the word I, when I speak in terms of long conversations with people, I come back to the word I and I speak. I realize that's the thing about life. I realize you can speak however you want. I realize everyone has their own kind of definition about life itself. I realize if you want to help yourself to be something much more than demoralizing in a way that your verbs and that you're realizing nouns and grammar and whatever you want to realize in life, I realize it has an important factor about life. I realize that's what you need to realize. So you have to really document those thoughts down if you really want to be someone in the picture. Okay, and if you want to be someone in the picture, like for example, you want to be more, okay, you have to realize that life is more. And so the more you have in terms of content, the better you can change people's lives and the kinder you are as a person. Yes, and so you have to realize that you must be kind to yourself first if you want to be kind to everything else. I realize it starts with you first. I realize so it's much more if you're going somewhere today, then make sure you look at the finer pictures of life. I mean, go and really describe everything that you're seeing, for example. And when you describe it to yourself in terms of everything that you're seeing in life, I promise you're going to be able to reflect upon yourself. I promise you're going to be able to reflect upon life. I promise you're going to be able to document things down in terms of life, and you're going to be able to see a greater perspective. I promise you, isn't it that the best thing in life is to have a greater perspective? I promise you, don't you agree with that? I promise you need to realize that if you want to go somewhere really nicely in terms of you want to go to a nice place or you want to go visit some place, I realize the best place that you can visit is inside of you. I realize the thing is that you can be happy with very little. I mean, yes, and you don't need other people to explain to you what life is. I promise you can see what life is. I promise you it's just how you live life on a daily basis. I promise you need to make your life a nice and beautiful ritual. Every single day you need to really, really document those thoughts down so that you can really express yourself into the best manner possible and be able to just document things down in ways that you're growing as a person. Yes, and so I always grow as a person in different ways. I make sure every single day that I can help myself to express myself every single day in different mannerisms and different manners. And I try to document as much as possible so that I can find myself in better places. Okay, so that's what I do on video and audio camera. As much as possible, I try to explain as much as possible so that I can teach myself something about life. I realize that that's the whole point. So I have to apply my knowledge. I have to apply the person I am. I mean, yes, and when I do that, I realize I just go into a better place. And that's how I learn. I learn through different ways of thinking. I learn through making sure that my product is a nice and I make sure that my nice and beautiful product is a nice and beautiful example toward nature and toward things in life that helps me to become free. I realize words just come to me really quickly. And because words are coming to me, I can understand what to talk about. I can understand what I want to be in life. But I understand that I don't want to be famous. I don't want to be famous. So what I'm doing now is I don't want to promote for example, I don't want to promote my YouTube channel much. But I want to promote my content to the people who are in my life. For example, people who are in my social circle. I want them to know about my life. But the thing is that it's much more how you see that the world won't be kind to you for very long. You know, so eventually someone out there is going to be very unkind to you. You know, so the thing is that what you need to realize is you need to accept it. I realize once you accept it, you can allow it to happen and just be kind to yourself. So if you're not kind to yourself, then why should other people be kind to you? You need to realize that the world needs to be kind overall. In a sense, so the world needs to keep spinning around, doesn't it? So if you keep moving around in life and you just go for a walk, or you just go somewhere with the dog, or you go somewhere with someone, try to describe things. Try to describe a better conversation with someone. Don't get caught in your tongue. So for example, I recently had a talk with this girl. I was fluent in my communication and I didn't know what to ask her, but the words were just coming to me. And then I said to myself, let it be and let me just go somewhere else. I wasn't pushing the conversation. I got on Instagram very quickly. For example, I'm not going to mention names. So the thing is that when I talk now, I don't mention names. I don't mention people who don't want to be mentioned. So the thing is that I just talk from an overall perspective. So if I want to be much more in my life, I need to really document things down. And when I document things down, I just get a greater perspective about life. Do you understand? Because fluency about a conversation that you're having with people, or you really understand something about life, that's what you need to teach. Teach people a way of life. So you need to teach something that you're curious about, something that you're famous about, or something that you're really, really fascinated about. I realize the thing is that you have to realize that it's not about having fame. It's about helping. So you have to understand that famous people are famous because it happens naturally. So fame happens naturally because of something that you're good at. In a sense, so the thing is that if you're such a good thing in terms of life and you have, for example, reasons to explain something in terms of different ways of thinking, then you have to realize that if you have talent in something, people can see that. People can see exactly what you're talking about. And you have to realize that sooner or later, they may be unkind to you, but the thing is that you have to go your own way. And you have to follow your own footsteps, okay? So you have to realize that if you want to do better in life overall, you need to express yourself the most, and you have to understand that is the best way. I see. So if you want to help yourself to grow, you need to make a topic first. And once you make a topic about something around life, it's about your philosophy. So you have to understand that if you are a philosophist, what happens is you can actually give your thoughts out there, and once you give your thoughts, you can change people's lives. Isn't that the best scenario? Don't you agree with that? You need to understand that things in life that you agree with, are the best things in life. Okay, so you have to understand that in life you have to agree with life, and you have to agree with what's happening to you because it's also happening for you in some kind of way. So you have to realize that in life, I was also unkind to people, you understand? So I learn from it. I promise you. The thing is that you have to realize that sometimes in life, the best things that happen to you is for you in ways that you have to realize to grow. You have to understand that it's much more about expressing yourself in a manner that you're good at. I mean, in a sense, so I'm not the best kind of life coach in the planet, but I'm also in my heart the best I can be in terms of spiritual aspects. So my spirituality, I realize my spirituality is actually growing every single day. So that's the important thing about life. I realize when I express myself, the more I approach the better. So I have to understand that I have to talk as much as possible to realize something. I have to realize a way of thinking. I have to realize a way of life. I have to realize a way of perspective. I understand that when I can go places, I can actually talk. I realize I need to be able to talk to be able to be great. You understand? So I realize the thing is that I want to be great. I want to be a great person. Okay? I realize if I get famous, I promise you that's because other people want me famous. I promise you it's not about fame for me. I realize it's much more how things happen naturally, and you have to realize that the thing is that you just have to express yourself more. And when you express yourself more, there's always a better way, I promise you. So always go from topic to topic to topic, making sure that you're always interested in what you're saying and making sure that you're curious about things about life. And when you're curious about things about life, I promise you have to understand that fascinating things happen. And what can happen fascinatingly is making sure that you talk in the greater aspect of life, making sure you talk about everything. I mean, promote everything as much as possible and try to expose it as much as possible. I promise you, the more you expose everything in life, the better you are. I promise you, the better this world. I promise you, the more you can see the truth. In a sense, so that's what you need to realize, that everyone can see the truth, but nobody can really explain the truth. In a sense, so you have to realize that you can explain the truth as well, and you can think that it's the truth, but the thing is that the only thing that's really true about you is what you see. I promise you, so you can actually see and spot everything in life that's actually good for you, but the thing is that what you think is what you are in life. So if you think that you're a bad person, then that's what you are. I promise you have to understand that you have to think positive thoughts. I promise you have to think better all the time. So you have to realize that you have to train yourself every single day to make sure that you're curious about life. I promise you, the more curious about life you are, the better, interesting conversation you can have with yourself and other people, and the more you can document things down for yourself to make sure that you can help yourself and help other people in the process. I promise you, that's why I always encourage people to make sure that they connect as many words together as possible, to make sure that they can have a higher vocabulary so that they can actually explain themselves much better in a different way every single time, because that's the only thing about life that's different. And you have to understand that some kind of video that you make or any kind of content you produce in life can help people in some kind of direction and can make sure every single day that you can actually help yourself to do better. So you have to realize that my brain right now is fast. I promise you, I'm a fast way of thinker. I'm a person who thinks fast. I have fast learning skills. I pick up very quickly about what I want to teach and what I want to do on a daily basis. So it's just up to you how fast you want to progress in life. I promise you, it's much more how life goes slow and it goes fast at the same time. But when you're passionate about something really quickly, and you have to understand that you need to realize that life goes really quickly when you're passionate about something. So be passionate as much as you can and live your life. I promise you, that's what you need to do. So always develop yourself as much as possible and try to actually grow. I promise you, that's what you need to do. So anyway, guys, I hope that you guys have enjoyed this program. I'll see you guys in the next one. See, guys, the delivery of, say, greatness or anything that you want to achieve, for example, you have to understand that when you go through life in a certain direction and you want to develop yourself in a certain direction, you have to make sure that you have your priority in retrospect. So what I mean is you have to deliver something from nothing, okay? I understand that when you deliver something from nothing, then you're actually going to really give value toward what you're doing. So you have to understand that you have to preoccupy yourself with everything in life that's going to be good for you. I understand that, for example, when I go do busking or when I go on the street sometimes and speak in front of people, or if I go Toastmasters or anything like that, I understand that the main thing for me to do in terms of what the main thing for me to do is I understand, is to just make sure that I'm professional and that I look kind and that I also have a great attitude and look as great as possible as I can. So that means that I have to put my health first. I have to make sure every single day that my life is going to be tremendous in some kind of direction. And I have to express my thoughts every single day so that I can be someone in terms of my life in a way that I can help people. I mean, it's not about being famous for me. I don't want to be famous, but I want to help people. Okay. And out of helping people, I get a sense of purpose. And now recently I just got a job, for example, and I'm bartending over here at Bonnering Sports Club. And you have to understand that I'm waiting actually for them to call me. But I had an interview with the guy and I was explaining my life to him, like, for example, what I do in my private life, like when I'm not working. And what I do in my private life when I'm not working that 9 to 5 job is I read, I try to develop myself, I do music production, for example. I also go for a walk, I go to the shops, for example, to get myself food and drink. I also communicate with people online as well, and I try to go poker as well sometimes. And I also make sure to just read as much as possible as I can, as much as I can. And I try to develop my communicational skills and needs, because I understand that when you can communicate to people and you can communicate something of your nature in a way that you can go up to people and kiss them on the cheek, for example, I promise you that's a sign of love and that's a sign of communicational skills as well. Because, like, for example, when I was younger, you have to understand that when I was around women and stuff like that, in terms of the Serbian community, I would go up to a woman and I would kiss her on the cheek just as a hi or hello, for example. So the main thing is to recognize that when you are explaining words, like, words can help people, okay? You have to understand that in your communication, never pronounce the word like, for example. So never say like this, like that. I promise you, what you do is try to have a better communicational skill where you pronounce better words in terms of life, where you are really, really professionally developing yourself and your mindset so that you can actually grow as a leader and so that you can actually help yourself to do something much more greater for yourself. So, for example, in my spare time, I told you what I do. For example, I do my journaling as well, and I try to be as much as I can alone. But the thing is that eventually I have to get around people. So having a 9 to 5 job or a part-time job where you can get around the society, or where you can get around people, as my mother says, and she tells me, for example, she says to me, "Hey, Danny, you have to get around people. You have to be much more out in the open. You have to go say hi to people in the way that you have to be around people, see what they're talking about, and see what you can do to help people. For example, give a service of recognition where you can actually give a service of some type to people so that you can get either money or you can get much more in the community for yourself where you can actually grow." So you have to understand that it's much more about helping yourself to grow in all ways possible every single day, making sure that you're actually doing something on a daily basis where you can actually provide something of service. You know, and so, for example, when people look at my Instagram, for example, they see me branding myself. When you look at when you look at my YouTube channel, you can see every single thumbnail that I post on YouTube is my fashion photo. You understand? So, for example, at the moment, you have to understand that those people who are not confident to do fashion photos never have done fashion photos for themselves, and you have to start somewhere. So you have to understand that those people who are willing to really grow themselves as individuals are people who can actually make it in terms of helping themselves to really, really see life in a spotlight where they grow in terms of every single type of need, where they are contributing something of nature, where they can really help themselves to do something that's special for themselves. Do you understand? So I understand that it's much more, you have to always develop yourself in terms of every single mannerism that you are really growing yourself in. So you have to really, really be beneficial toward yourself and other people. I understand that, for example, get yourself a driver's license, make sure that you get yourself all the licenses you need, for example, to make sure that you can earn some money so that you can have in your pocket, so that you can have a family for yourself, so that you can start saving, for example, so that you can have much more money in yourself over here in your bank account, so that you can go traveling somewhere, for example. But as Grant Cardone suggests, for example, he says never save your money, and you have to understand, Robert Kiyosaki says never save your money because they're printing money. Yes, and so the thing is that the money of the dollar value in life, in terms of all currencies, are losing value today. And why is that? Is because the governments are printing money, and you have to understand that you need to be able to get your money and invest it into places where you make money. You understand? So you have to be an investor, you have to be growing yourself in the best kind of way, and you have to always deliver upon what you say. You understand? So if you say something, make sure you're doing it. I mean, make sure that if you have someone calling you to go work somewhere, make sure that you go. Make sure that you get around people every single day as much as possible, and go and re-add all the people from the past that you recognize from before, and make sure that you contact them and just say hello. And also just make sure you have more friends around you, so that you can have pick and choose directions, so you can pick who you want to hang around with. Like, for example, it's much better if you have 2,000 friends on Instagram that you met in real life, that you can get connected to, for example, that you can go out with, than having one friend on Instagram that you connect to, for example. So it's a better thing to make sure that you have more friends in life, making sure that you're always developing yourself in terms of mindset as much as possible, living the great life, you know. And so that's what you need to do. So if this content is helping you in any way, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please make sure that you have to be growing yourself in terms of reading. Make sure that you read as much as possible, and try to actually be much more into yourself. Try to be attractive. Try to be someone that's actually much more foundational in what you say and what you do, and try to improve yourself as much as possible. I see, guys, I know one thing for sure, that if you embrace your personality, for example, you express those words and you feel great, okay, it doesn't matter if you don't feel like the need to do something, but you have to realize that it's much more how you have to embrace your feelings, okay? And you have to realize that when you're doing fashion photos, that it's in the moment, okay? And you have to realize that you have to go with the feelings instead of the looks. So, for example, what I'm trying to say is, if you're fat, or if you have some type of flaw that you don't like, or if you are not looking as good as before, then what you need to realize is you don't have to go on the appearance kind of thing. You don't have to really set yourself up for failure to recognize that you are not good enough when you are. So you have to realize it's much more about being able to express yourself. So the more you express yourself on video camera or on audio programs, the more you can understand your own personality. Okay, so that's the thing about me. I realize that if I don't do audio programs and if I don't express myself fully, then I realize that I'm not living fully. I have to every single day make sure that my life is full of surprises. So I have to make sure that I'm expressing all of me in terms of everyone, in terms of everything that I am. So I have to every single day make sure that I express my flaws and express who I am as a person, so that I can really see my type of personality moving forward. So I understand that my personality is much greater now than it ever was. I realize my spirituality is greater than it ever was, but my physical appearance is actually looking worse than yesterday. And why is that? I understand it's because over time you age, and because you age, you just don't look the same anymore. You change your view, you change your appearance. I realize your appearance is always changing every single day. So what you need to realize is, over time, you need to be updated on the version that you are. So the only thing that I want to recognize every single day is that I go and express myself with photos of me today, in terms of who I am today, so that I can help myself to progress in life in a different way. So I have to make sure that I understand that I have to express myself and all my flaws every single day as much as I can, so that I can actually become much more in my life. But what I'm doing now is I'm not promoting my social media as much anymore, because I'm saving money on it. And the thing is that it's much more affordable for me to do so, and I'm going the most affordable ways. So, for example, you have to realize that when you express yourself the best you can, for example, what's going to happen is you're going to be able to really help yourself to grow in the best way possible. So you have to really suggest yourself to really see that when you are doing fashion photos of yourself, I realize don't focus on your appearance, focus on your feelings. And when you focus on your feelings, it's not how you look in terms of appearance. It's more how you look in terms of your feelings. So if your feelings are feeling good in the moment, then that's all that matters. That's your confidence, in a sense. So you have to realize you have to accept yourself totally and 100% every single day. You have to express yourself who you are. Okay, so the more you express yourself, the more you're going to build your confidence, and the more you're going to be able to be a great individual for yourself who really recognizes your own personality and how unique you are as a person. So you have to really, every single day, make sure that you're always doing as much photos of yourself as possible, posting as much content as possible every single day, making sure that you are embarking on a journey with yourself and other people, making sure that you're socially connecting with other people, but always trying to look your best, in a sense. So the thing is that habits make the individual, okay? And what you have to understand is your habits is your destiny. So if you're not changing your habits today, and if you're not changing one thing about you every single day, then you're not going to move forward as a person. So every single day, if you want to move forward, if you want to move forward every single day in the best bright way possible, then you have to speak more. So for example, I'm starting Toastmasters now in Marconi, and it's just maybe 10-minute drive from me. And you have to realize that the reason I'm starting Toastmasters is because I want to just be in front of a crowd again and just be able to socially connect with people and be able to get out of the house for myself and professionally develop my public speaking skills and stuff like that. Just so I can help myself to grow as a person, but so I can look at people and I can just explain to them who I really am and how I really want to move forward. So you have to realize that if you want to improve your personality, or if you want to improve the person you are, then you have to improve every aspect of who you are every single day. You have to improve your communicational skills. You have to make sure that every single day that you're going to grow, and that you have a 9-to-5 job, for example, making sure that you're getting out there with the people in your community, making sure that every single day that they see you and that you show up to events, and making sure that you break the silence between you and them, and make sure that every single day that you can always offer people a drink, for example, offer them a drink so that you can socially connect with them, and so that they have nothing against you, and so that you can actually grow as a person. So make sure every single day that you're always understanding that you are imperfect, and nobody's perfect in life, but everyone's perfect to some degree as well. Do you understand? So you have to realize that you have to express your whole being if you want to understand your personality. So that's what I'm saying every single day now for myself over here is always grow as much as you can. Make sure that you do as much content as possible. Live your life in a way that's going to be in accordance to a better way of life for you, in terms of for you. And make sure that you need to realize that if you do anything special for yourself, that you always understand what you need to say and what you need to do to get across to people in different situations in a better way, so that you're actually expressing yourself the most you can.